We're not even making a score prediction because we do not know what team is going to turn up tonight. Sometimes you get a Manchester United team that's going to blow the opposition away, and sometimes you get a performance like we had on the weekend which looked like they were all asleep walking around the pitch. They didn't even care for the win. So we do not want to make a score prediction not knowing what's going to happen tonight, but we are hoping that Ten Hag really gets a performance out of these players. Welcome to the Man United stream, hope you're doing well. In today's show we're talking about this shocking news that's coming out that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is making a new bid for Manchester United, a reconstructed bid that he will be putting into the Glazers and hopefully trying to get a bit of Manchester United. It's a reconstructed bid to take over 25%, a minority stake of Manchester United. We'll discuss that in today's show, and today we'll also be looking forward to that game against Galatasaray, a big massive game in the Champions League that Manchester United must win against Galatasaray. We'll be discussing that and looking forward to that and seeing how Manchester United are going to be lining up and what Ten Hag has to do to win this game tonight. But before we kick off today's show, please make sure you hit the like button on the video so it gets pushed out to many more people, and if you're new to the Man United stream channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and opinion in one single dose. Okay, so let's kick off today's show with the news that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is preparing a new bid to go into the Glazers, a bid that's going to be for just 25% of the club, allowing the Glazers to stay on and control everything at Manchester United. But we must remind ourselves right at the outset of this discussion that every single party connected to the bidding process would have signed a non-disclosure agreement with the Rain Group, with the Glazers, and they would not be allowed to talk about the process and what's going on within the process. So any news that we are getting from Sky Sports or any other source will have to be taken with a huge pinch of salt, and we don't know the details of what actually is going on behind the scenes. But the sources from where the reports are coming from have to be differentiated. Sky Sports, Bloomberg, Reuters, The Athletic, all these are top reporting agencies, and they will not make things up. They would have had sources within the process who would be giving this information to them. However, on the other hand, we've got sources like The Sun, The Mirror, and these kind of tabloid newspapers that just make up half the crap that they tell you. So we have to differentiate between the two sources, and the sources that we're getting this news out from is Bloomberg and Sky Sports. Last week, Bloomberg and David Hallier of the Bloomberg reported that this was going to happen, that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was in the process of reconstructing his bid and making a new offer to the Glazers. And now from Sky Sports, we're getting further details on this reconstructed bid from Sir Jim Ratcliffe going into the Glazers. And this reconstructed bid from Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to surprise a lot of fans. We're disappointed in hearing what we're hearing because he only wants 25% of Manchester United, leaving the rest to the Glazers. So essentially he's giving the Glazers what they want but not taking anything from the Glazers. He's given them huge investment in £1.5 billion, it said, but is not going to get the main thing that all the fans want, which is the Glazers to leave the club. Now, as we just confirmed, Bloomberg News reported last week that Ineos was looking to reconstruct its bid without specifying details of how this would be achieved. Now, what we're also hearing is that Sheikh Yassim is sticking to his £5.5 billion bid for Manchester United for the whole entire lot. He wants to take over 100% of the club and wants the Glazers out completely, does not want the Glazers to stay behind, and that is what he's sticking to, and he's not taking that off the table. He's left that for the Glazers to consider whilst they're going through this process. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the billionaire, is contemplating buying a minority stake in Manchester United rather than buying the full lot in an effort to end this 10-month-long process and resolve this standoff between the Glazers and the bidders. So what Sir Jim Ratcliffe essentially is doing is getting a piece of the pie but allowing the Glazers to stay on and do what they need to do and carry on where they left off from. Now, some fans already suspected this of Sir Jim Ratcliffe. They were not happy with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his bid, and were not happy with what he was saying about the club and what he was saying about the Glazers. It already sounded like he wanted the Glazers to stay on, and now this proves it. Now what we have is the Glazers in the USA And now we've got a Glazer within the UK in Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He does not care about the club and where it's going. He just wants a piece of the pie, he wants to make some money, and he wants in at any cost. He doesn't care whether the Glazers stay or leave, he just wants the piece of the pie and wants to be known as someone who owns a pie of Manchester United. It would be horrendous from someone who calls himself a Manchester United fan to go in there and give the Glazers a cash injection of £1.5 billion and allow them to stay at the club. It is not what we want. We want the Glazers out and we want everyone connected with them out. So what are the details of this new bid that's been proposed by Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Well, this offer would entail making an offer at the same price for both sets of shares, with one suggestion on Monday evening being that Sir Jim Ratcliffe could seek roughly 25% stake in the Red Devils as part of his latest proposal. It would need to be pitched at a valuation that the Glazers would accept, implying that Ineos Sports could spend in the region of 1.5 billion if it was to acquire a quarter of United's shares, based on earlier reports that they were seeking a minimum valuation of £6 billion. And if such a deal was implemented and was done, it would mean almost certainly that the Glazers would remain in control of Manchester United going forward. Now, some holders of the publicly traded stock called A shares had already raised concerns about Sir Jim Ratcliffe's previous proposal, which focused on acquiring a majority stake in the club by buying shares from the 6 Glazer siblings who own Class B shares, which carry disproportionate voting rights. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe's original bid that did go in was only proposing to buy the shares controlled by the Glazers and leaving the public shares, Class A shares, as they were without having to buy them. Now, most of the people that own these Class A shares were not happy with this proposal, saying that this would not be fair and they were going to take Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers to court if this actually went through. Now, this could be one of the reasons why Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe are reconstructing their bid and putting in this new proposal, hoping that the Glazers will be satisfied with this, knowing that there will be no legal action taken against them if this bid is accepted. Now, if this is true, this development within the takeover process could mean that the Glazers have gone out in this bid. They could actually take the 1.5 billion that they're looking for as an investment from Sir Jim Ratcliffe and bring him on board and give him that 25%, allow him to sit there whilst they still control the majority of the shares and whilst they still control Manchester United in its entirety. It is going to be bad news if this bid goes in, and it'll be bad news for everybody connected to Manchester United, hoping that the Glazers would sell up and leave, because this would give them the perfect opportunity to stay on and stay in control of Manchester United whilst having no financial problems, because they could clear the debt or they could clear some of the issues that they have at the club and still carry on without worrying about having to pay for some of the stuff. That's what the Glazers are after. What the Glazers have been after throughout this process is not having to spend their own money on whatever is needed at Old Trafford and Manchester United, and that is why they were looking for outside investment, and this is probably the best solution for them. They've been given a solution by Sir Jim Ratcliffe where they will stay in control and still have the money to spend on what they need to spend it on. It is awful to hear that someone who calls himself a Manchester United fan is now offering this lifeline to the Glazers. Drop your comments below, let us know what you think of the whole situation concerning Manchester United and this new proposed bid by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Do you think it's good for Manchester United, or do you think this is just going to give the Glazers the lifeline that they've been waiting for, the £1.5 billion just for 25% of Manchester United, where the Glazers remain in control of Manchester United going forward? It is awful news if you're a Manchester United fan, but was ever Sir Jim Ratcliffe a fan of Manchester United? That's the question I'm asking. What do you think? Drop your comments below, let us know what you think. Before we move on, please make sure you hit that like button on the video, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Now let's move on and look forward to tonight's game against Galatasaray in the Champions League. I love the Champions League. Don't you love the Champions League? It's amazing that Manchester United are back in the Champions League, because it makes the weekdays so much more interesting and so much more exciting. And we're on the world's biggest stage when it comes to football. The Champions League is where all top clubs, all top players want to be, and it's lovely to see Manchester United playing in the Champions League. And tonight we're playing against Galatasaray. It's a must-win game game for Ten Hag and his players, because if they do not win tonight's game, it is going to be huge amounts of pressure on Ten Hag, on the team, and I do not want to know what would happen if they lose tonight. So it's a must-win game. Man United need to go out there and really have a good start early on in the game, really need to get hold of the game and score a few early goals to calm down everybody and get everything going. We are hearing reports that Altay Bendia could actually make his debut against Galatasaray tonight, but we think that's an absolute no-no. We think Ten Hag will be playing Onana in goals tonight because it is a must-win game. The defence will remain the same. We feel that the only change that Ten Hag will make to this team tonight is that of Rashford. Rashford could be dropped to the bench and Garnacho could start the game, but Rashford would feature in the game tonight, coming on as a sub. That is the only thing that we can see that Ten Hag will do. Ten Hag likes sticking to his first 11, does not like making any changes, and that's what we heard from the Ajax fans. Ten Hag is a stubborn manager. He likes sticking to players. He doesn't like making substitutions right to the end and wants his team to perform on the pitch. He wants his players to do a job out there and believes in the players that he has got. And this is what Ten Hag is going to do tonight. We suspect he's going to go ahead and play the same team that lost on the weekend and try and get performance out of them, which isn't really bad news because he needs these players to go out there and grow in confidence. And the only way they're going to grow in confidence is by winning on the pitch, by playing well. So he needs the performance out of this team. He needs to get them to play really well tonight and get a win, which is needed. Let us know what you think the score prediction is going to be. We're not even making a score prediction because we do not know what team is going to turn up tonight. Sometimes you get a Manchester United team that's going to blow the opposition away, and sometimes you get a performance like we had on the weekend, which looked like they were all asleep walking around the pitch. They didn't even care for the win. So we do not want to make a score prediction not knowing what's going to happen tonight, but we are hoping that Ten Hag really gets a performance out of these players. Bruno Fernandes has to be on top of his game. We want the Højlund to be on top of his games, get a couple of goals, and we need the midfield to really be controlled. Casemiro and whoever's with him in midfield have to control that midfield. It is really important, and we have to move the ball up really quick and really fast. The transitions have to be quicker. We are just not playing fast enough, and that ball going from the defence to the strikers is not fast enough. The defenders need to take some risks tonight and make them passes, take them risky chances and take them passes and get that ball to the strikers. That is what's needed. Make sure you hit that like button on the video. Make sure you subscribe. You were watching the Man United Streamer channel by the fans for the fans.